A great ESPN report you have to hear. A new signing with fascinating contract details, plus new updates in the 2025 NFL schedule. All of that and more in this video. Hit subscribe if you're looking for daily 49ers content. Very much appreciate all of you for joining the conversation, for being in the comments section, all that good stuff. Speaking of being in the comments section, let's get to this here. Yesterday's video really sparked an interesting conversation around Brennan Iayuk being worth the money or not. And obviously, when he got signed, there was an opinion about whether or not the money was worth the deal. Brennan Iayuk, in my opinion, signed because of his incredible efficiency. Efficiency numbers are valuable to a guy like Kyle Shanahan, who knows he's going to get a limited number of targets because all of the wide receivers are going to get opportunities. And for Brennan Iayuk, this comment here from Brian Hoffman, Brennan Iayuk is worth the money. Purdy needs good route runners to play the deep ball. And in fairness to Brian Hoffman, great comment, by the way, in fairness to you, sir, well, the 49ers missed Brennan Iayuk for the majority of the season last year, and it was pretty evident that the 49ers needed a guy like that. A man beater, a guy who Brock Purdy could count on, a guy who Brock Purdy in 2023 absolutely loved to throw to. Great connection between the two of them. Didn't look the same. Didn't look the same after the holdout, to be fair, and we're hoping he looks better after the injury. But we'll have to wait and see on that. In contrast, Rick Garza said, when we sucked, nobody spoke out against the team. When we became good, then we had two diva wide receivers talking about not wanting to be here. I don't remember Brennan Iayuk saying he didn't want to be here. It was more so he claimed the 49ers said that he didn't want to be here, but maybe you're talking about somebody else. And when we were winning Super Bowls, just as any other team, we had great offensive and defensive lines. Build the lines, and we won't have to spend so much money on the skill positions, which I think is interesting, by the way. It's a fair argument to say if you focus on the trenches, everything else kind of fills out around that, and that's not entirely wrong. However, when you look at how the 49ers are spending toward the wide receiver room, and I know that's one specific aspect of the skill position room, you throw Christian McCaffrey in there, and things look a little bit funnier when you talk about skill positions. But let's just look at the wide receiver room for a second, okay? 49ers are 19th in terms of how they're allocating money toward the wide receiver room right now. Now, if they pay Gabe Davis, that's a whole nother ball game. But you let me know in the comments what you think about this. I think that Brennan Iayuk, we've already paid him. He better be worth the money because we already did it. And I'm really hoping he sticks around. I do think that's probably best if he can get back to his 2023 form, which I think he can. But we'll have to wait and see. Technology in the health industry has gotten a lot better. Let's talk about Nick Martin, okay? Really interesting article from ESPN talking, Field Yates talking about Nick Martin, covered by David Bonilla, 49ers Web Zone. ESPN's Field Yates recently ranked non-first-round rookies poised to make an immediate impact, placing Martin at number 5 among defensive players. The 49ers entered the draft with a need at one starting linebacker spot after Dre Greenlaw left in free agency, and Martin can fill it, Field Yates wrote. He lacks ideal size at 6 foot and 197 pounds, but he makes up for it with electric speed and a fearless nature on every snap. Now, don't go anywhere because there's another guy the 49ers just signed that is more in the range of the size that you might be looking for. But Martin showed legitimate pass rush instincts in 2023 too, with 6 sacks, Yates added. And while he was injured for most of 2024, his 140 tackles in 2023 were the most by any Oklahoma State player since 1984. Following his selection at number 75 overall, Martin was asked about his aggressive play style. He said, "I'm relentless. The way I always go for the kill shot, whether that's maximum effort or punishing a person with the ball, just figuring out ways to just change the tone of a game, and I'm explosive." So we'll have to wait and see, of course, as always, about how this is all going to play out, both in training camp, in preseason, and then into the start of the season. But Nick Martin, and Field Yates believes Nick Martin is going to be a formidable force coming into the season, picking him as a top pick to actually be an impact player from outside of the first round. So that's exciting to see. I love that. And then David Lombardi. Oh, I'll get actually to the next one. I meant to delete those because I wanted to do a whole nother thing on it. This guy right here, David Lombardi. The 49ers have officially signed undrafted linebacker Stone Blandon, who was unable to join for rookie minicamp because he was getting married this past weekend. Big few days for the Mississippi State product. The 49ers, Sterling Bennett here, have signed him to a 3-year deal. Blandon got $92,000 in guarantees. Pretty big for an undrafted player. a pretty big deal. Yes, it is a pretty big deal for an undrafted player. $92,000 is pretty high for a UDFA guarantee. So that I thought was by itself really, really interesting. What are the 49ers thinking about a guy who was undrafted, who couldn't even make rookie minicamp, and they have signed to a 3-year deal with huge guarantees? Now, the 3-year deal, that's not as unusual, but $92,000 in guarantees, a little more unusual. So that tells me, and you know what? I've got an article here on this, and it'll talk about kind of the current players and what that means, but I think that this is an interesting statement from the 49ers in terms of their desire to fill the linebacker role. Now, this guy, of course, is more like, I think 6'3", 230, somewhere around that size, so kind of more the right fit. I might be in this article. I do not remember. The 49ers, this one by Kyle Posey here. The 49ers must have liked the way the junior finished this season. Blandon had 14-plus tackles in 3 of the final 4 games. Instead of returning for his senior season, Blandon entered the draft. Blandon being around the ball that much should help him carve out a role as a special teamer, an area where the 49ers need help, okay? So that kind of paints a little bit of a picture of where the 49ers might be using him. Blandon's rookie season will effectively be his senior year, so the Niners might see him as a developmental prospect who plays their style and could help on special teams or defense in a year or two. Okay, so the 49ers are not, they've been known many times to have linebacker projects that help out in special teams, okay? So that's interesting as well. We've seen the Niners roster multiple undrafted free agents at linebacker during Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch's tenure. Azeez Al-Shaair was one. Perhaps Blandon will serve as Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles' replacement, who also was a UDFA. So if you look at all of the players then, all of the current linebackers, if you add Stanton on there, okay, Stone Blanton, got like a fly over here. The current linebackers are Fred Warner, Nick Martin, who's the rookie we just talked about, D. Winters, who's, in my opinion, this is his make or break year, and I would love to see him make that one more step up. Luke Gifford, Tatum Bethune, recently drafted, Jalen Graham, and Curtis Robinson. Of course, Curtis Robinson's that wonderful story. The guy, he'll be helpful in special teams for sure, but also the guy that we're all kind of rooting for, if we're honest, because he turned down a starting role. Well, yeah, he turned down a starting role, a guaranteed role with the Tennessee Titans to stay with the 49ers and continue learning under Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, who's now gone. So I would love to see Curtis Robinson make this team. I'd love to see all of that dedication and hard work pay off for him in his career, but he has to earn it just like everybody else. Looking at what the scouts are saying, plays with good instincts and discipline, reads keys and follows them to action, slips, blocks, or punches firmly to separate and shed, flows to the ball, and good control and minds the cutback lanes, good awareness to shade passing lanes and zone drops. The scary thing about Blandon for me, okay, would just be the number of missed tackles he had, and not for the same reasons that you get like a Hufanga misses tackles. When Hufanga misses tackles, and I know Hufanga's a safety, I understand, okay? Dre Greenlaw, okay? But same deal. When you have a guy like Nick Martin, when he's going to miss tackles, it's because of that speed, especially straight line speed. Malik Mustafa, same sort of deal. We've seen these players who have that ability that miss tackles because of something else that they bring to the table. My concern about him is that's not why he's missing tackles. So we'll have to wait and see, okay? He did have a number of great tackles, but the big concern from the scouts being his inability to consistently hit all of his tackles. So we'll wait and see how that plays out, of course. One more thing I wanted to talk about. So the NFL did release the first game of the season. The opening night will be against the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles, which I couldn't care less about. I mean, other than the fact that it's the start of the NFL season, whatever, okay? But it made me think, okay, we're now 2 days away, and the way that this works out, if you aren't familiar, is all of the releases start to happen this week. So starting today, little things are going to start coming out over the next couple of days until Wednesday when the full schedule release takes place, which is going to be super exciting. Make sure you don't go anywhere. Subscribe and don't miss out on all of that because it's going to be pretty exciting. But today, for example, NBC, Fox, Prime Video should have announcements coming out. And then ESPN tomorrow, CBS and Netflix on Wednesday in the morning, presumably, because Wednesday evening is when the full schedule gets released. And then when you're looking at the international schedule, which should be coming out tomorrow morning, which should be exciting, the international schedule is going to have two potential impacts for the San Francisco 49ers. One against the Cleveland Browns, which is in London. Yes, London. And the other one potentially in Germany against the Indianapolis Colts. I believe that still could be us. We obviously play both of those teams, which is why you're making that connection in terms of those opponents. And I think the big thing that I'm going to be looking for as the schedule comes out is what does it look like in terms of primetime schedule? Because that's going to really impact, usually anyway, that has a huge impact on our rest differential, because that's where you end up. You get those extra Thursday games, for example. You get shorter weeks. And then you pair that with what's happened the last couple of seasons where the teams you're playing against are coming off of bye weeks or they're coming off of long rests. And it's, it doesn't really break out too well for the 49ers, who have been since 2020 top four, I guess tied for third, let's say, in terms of number of primetime games. So, yes, we'll have to see. I don't know how the Chargers landed on that. Haven't figured that one out yet. It's not a fan base I completely understand, to be honest with you. But whatever. When we look at the opponents that the 49ers are facing, of course, the Browns and the Colts are the only ones that could be international games. And then you've got a lot of games at home that are not going to be affected. The 49ers will be at home for every home game this season. Then you've got, of course, Levi's South with the Rams, which brings me to a really fun question I would love your response from. Coach Yak put out there. 49ers schedule gets released on Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Who would you like to see the 49ers play week one? The right answer for me is Levi's South against the Rams. That would be the best opener to me for a lot of reasons. One, it's an immediate tone setter, just like the Jets were. Everyone can rail on the Jets now, but going into that game, it looked like a very, very difficult game. It looked like a game that the 49ers were very much like, if you win this game, you're setting the tone for what this season's going to be like. And yes, we were favored to win it and whatever, but their defensive line was rated higher than us. Their linebacker core was rated higher than us. Their secondary is rated with us. There was a lot about that team that I was concerned about. And of course, everyone believed Aaron Rodgers was going to be significantly more successful in New York than he was. But all of that being said, I think you get the similar kind of deal with the Rams, where this is a team we know. This is a team that has improved, on paper at least, over the offseason, and most definitely the most formidable opponent, and an opportunity to go down to Levi's South and have at it and go for it and see and really measure up. Our defensive line, for example, all these rookie defensive lines going up against their defensive line, not literally, but you get what I'm saying. So I think there's a lot of interesting parallels there. I think what we can do against their defense will be interesting, how our offensive line stacks up against their young defensive line that's highly rated, one of the highest rated defensive lines in the NFL, and all very, very young. So I think there's a lot there, you guys. I think it's a really interesting first game, and it's a game we could easily lose. I'm not going to act like this is a guaranteed win. And so we go against the Rams. We get revenge for last season because we should have, but whatever. You go against the Rams, and it sets the tone for the rest of the season, where if you lose the game, you know where you stand, and you know what you need to work on. And if you win the game, you show that we're still in charge of the NFC West, or at least we should be. So that's 2 days away, guys. 2 days away from the schedule release. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on all of that. Appreciate all of you guys, and hope you guys have a fantastic Monday night.